Hey everybody, we are reading Dune and we're on to our next chapter. It's a short one. It starts with the clip from the Collected Sayings of Muad'Dib by Princess Irulan, which I'm going to quote in its entirety. There is probably no more terrible instant of enlightenment than the one in which you discover your father is a man with human flesh. And that is right to the heart of what this chapter is about. It's a short one. It's Paul and the Duke. And in this chapter, the Duke confides in Paul that they received this scrap of message implicating Lady Jessica as the traitor, and Paul he doesn't buy into it, and the Duke is like, well, I don't buy into it either, but we're going to proceed as if we all do suspect Lady Jessica, because we want whoever is watching us to think that we are buying that, and we want her reaction to be genuine. And the Duke is like I know that she's Bene Gesserit and she could put on a really good show, but just in case, we're going to piss her off. And he's like, and I hate to do it, I really do, but the reason I'm telling you this is because I want somebody to know that I never suspected her. And if anything happens to me, Paul, you can at least tell her that it was all a show and that I never suspected that she would ever betray us. And so Paul gets it, but he doesn't love it. And he can tell that his dad is just exhausted at this point. He's got dark circles under his eyes, and he's very cold at this point. And Paul tries to reassure him. He's like, look, we're a great house, and you're a great leader. And the Duke does a lot of demystification on there. He talks about, part of him wishes that they had just gone rogue and become a renegade house on the run, and just ignore all of this business on Arrakis. They might have been happier, and that, he feels like all the great houses are degenerating, and it's just, what are we standing for anyway? And Paul tries to defend it. He's like, look, we're still a great house. And the Duke, like I said, he tears himself down a little bit with the reality. He's like, look, we've got a great propaganda wing that tells the people what to think and tells them how well we're ruling them. And we're going to be doing that here on Arrakis as well. And that's really what goes on. And, he's taking himself down a notch, but it's a lesson he's trying to teach Paul. And it's one, Paul at his age probably didn't want to hear yet. It's the sort of thing that everyone does come to realize, but it's normally an organic thing. Like you're like, oh, I suddenly realized that my parents are not perfect and they're not always right. But to have your parent come out and say, look, here's the deal. That's, nobody's a fan of that. So it's another good chapter. I mean, Frank Herbert is a great writer. It's a really good humanizing chapter. And humanity is really, it's really a strong undercurrent through all of Frank Herbert's Dune books. It's just what it means to be human, the fate of humanity, the real thing with the lack of technology in Dune, as a result of the Butlerian Jihad, which was AI run amok and that sort of thing, is that humanity has turned inward for the last several thousands of years. That's why you have mentats. That's why the Bene Gesserit have all of these amazing powers of bodily control. It's because humanity at large has focused inward on themselves and not on the technologies that we are using to make life more convenient or to enhance us. And so it's interesting how that comes across in a lot of different nuanced ways throughout Dune and the other books as well. And it becomes a theme of like, at one point, does humanity stop looking inward and also not relying on technology? Does humanity become stagnant? And what's the path forward from there? So that will become a theme that Herbert will explore more. But I like how he gives humanity to the characters in these chapters, especially the short ones. In just a couple of pages, he brings more and more depth to Duke Leto. a real investment in this character, and by extension to Paul as well, as he is soaking all this in, and it's going to inform the kind of leader and kind of person that he will grow into, and the values that he starts off with, and how those may or may not get perverted or worked against him. So it's interesting. It's another chapter, not really adapted so much, because again, this whole subplot of everyone suspecting Lady Jessica of being a traitor, not really adapted in any form. A little bit in the miniseries, to be fair. There were characters that suspected Lady Jessica, but it really wasn't a plot that was delved into. It was more of a logical conclusion sort of thing, which we'll get into later on, because that is a scene that does happen in this book much later on. So that's it for this chapter. It's a short one, but another good read, and it's building up this tension of everything that the Atreides are trying to overcome, knowing that they're in a dangerous hotspot with so many unseen forces working against them. So let me know your thoughts again and any questions you have, and keep reading along, and I'll see you again soon.